Hello students, welcome again to a new session at Educators Plus. I am Akarshi, your English faculty at Educators Plus. So students, if you have attended my 11 a.m. session, you must be knowing that we have completed the Indian literature unit of the UGC NET examination, and I have tried to discuss most of the important writers and their works in that particular session. Okay, so if you want to gear up your preparations, so please go to that session and watch it and make notes of it. Okay, and in this particular session I have brought some previous year's questions that are on Indian literature that have been asked in your examinations. So please stay tuned throughout the session, be participative, answer in the chat box and ask your doubts also in the chat box. Okay, and I'll be going again by the same concept, telling you the answer, explaining you the concept or the writer associated with that particular concept. Okay, so let's study about first of all the question that was asked in the my previous lecture. Okay, in the previous lecture of mock test series, I have asked you the question. So let's first solve that question, and Ramesh again has given the correct answer. Well done, Ramesh. Your preparations are going really very well. Okay, next is who is the writer of the book Train to Pakistan? ये मैंने आपसे लास्ट सेशन में क्वेश्चन पूछा था एंड इसका आंसर था Khushwant Singh. Okay, so Khushwant Singh has written the work Train to Pakistan. Now let me tell you something about Khushwant Singh. So he is a very senior and prominent Indian novelist and a journalist. Okay, and he was basically a significant post-colonial writer in the English language, and Khushwant Singh is known for his very clear-cut, you can say, the secularism, humor and a deep passion for poetry. Okay, and he's also a very good story writer, historian, political writer, and he's also used to write some essays. And one of the work that is Train to Pakistan is a remarkable work. Then you should read about Train to Pakistan and make notes. Okay, so first of all, the main important point about the Train to Pakistan is that it is a partition novel. Okay, सबसे पहले तो ये आपको जानना चाहिए कि it is a partition novel, because ये भी क्वेश्चन आता है कि कौन सी नॉवल है. आप pick the one which has a partition as a background. So you should know that Train to Pakistan is a partition novel, and it is also called as a historical novel as well. Okay, and this is a very interesting fusion of various kind of themes like humor, pain, agony, violence in this particular novel. Okay, it has been described, and Mano Majra is the maiden name of the novel. Okay, क्या इसका maiden name क्या है? इसका maiden name है Mano Majra. Mano Majra is the maiden name of this novel. Very important point. Please make a note of it. That इसका जो maiden name है, it is the Mano Majra, and it is basically an imaginative, peaceful abode of communal harmony that witnessed the dark history of hatred and religious segregation. जो भी आपको पता होगा independence fight में जब partition हुआ था, what was the aftermath, what was the path of that people over there, how people suffered, how they actually showed their grievances, people lost their lives, people lost their homeland, people lost their relatives. All these things have been beautifully described in this particular work. Okay, and you should also remember that Train to Pakistan opens with a fictional village, and what was the name of that village? It was Mano Majra. ठीक है, Mano Majra एक village का नाम भी है, and it is a maiden name of the novel as well. And this describes how the entire village gets involved in the carnage during the partition. ठीक है, पूरा village कैसे उन्होंने fight लड़ी, all this has been depicted in this novel. Also, please remember that Khushwant Singh has divided the novel into 4 parts, and the name of the 4th part is Karma. ठीक है, 4 parts में divided है, and जो 4th part है उसका name क्या है? Karma. Okay, from the name it is very much evident it talks about the man's action. ठीक है, ये कर्मा नाम है, and this part emphasizes the philosophy of karma, that is action, and which has been described in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita में बताया कि जैसा करोगे वैसा पाओगे, तो what you will sow you shall reap. ठीक है, similarly कर्मा का भी इसमें यही चीज वो describe करा गया है in this particular novel. And in this section, the story reaches its catastrophic dramatic end with Jugat Singh sacrificing his life to save the lives of his girlfriend Nooran and other Muslim refugees. Okay, so this was a main thing of this particular novel, the Train to Pakistan. Please remember this. The fourth part name is Karma. It talks about man's action. It is also the partition novel. Maiden name kya hai? Manno Majra, and Manno Majra is also the name of the village that has been depicted in this particular work, Train to Pakistan. I hope you have got the concept right and understood well about the Train to Pakistan. Any problem, post in the chat box. Fine. So let's move ahead to another set of questions that I brought for this session. Now please tell me who wrote the Panchtantra. Okay, you know what is Panchtantra? So please tell me who has written Panchtantra. Who has written the work Panchtantra? Is it A, B, C or D? Vishnu Sharma, Chanakya, Kalidas, or none of these? Yes, students, please be participative. Okay. So basically Panchtantra has been written by Vishnu Sharma. As it is, इसको याद कर लो, इसमें कोई explanation की जरूरत नहीं है. That Vishnu Sharma has written the work Panchtantra. Okay. Next, who wrote the famous novel Anant Mat? Okay, किसने लिखी है novel Anant Mat? Please let me know in the chat box, and please like the session to mark your attendance. Or if you are enjoying as well, please like the session. Who has written the work Anant Mat? Is it Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, Rabindranath Tagore, or none of these? Okay, so this Anant Mat has been written by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. So he is an Indian writer who has written the work Anant Mat. Next, who is the author of the novel The Inheritance of Laws? ठीक है, आपको मुझे बताना है किसने लिखी है novel The Inheritance of Laws in the chat box. Is it Amitabh Ghosh, Arundhati Roy, Kiran Desai, or none of these? We have discussed about Amitabh Ghosh and Arundhati Roy in my lecture. Please let me know in the chat box. Yes, students, please be participative. Okay, so The Inheritance of Laws has been written by Kiran Desai. तो यह सबसे बड़ा clue तो मैंने आपको दे दिया था that we have discussed about Arundhati Roy and Amitabh Ghosh in my previous session, and मैंने आपको Inheritance Laws वाला कुछ concept और कुछ novel नहीं बताई थी. So this novel has been written by Kiran Desai. Okay, so in this particular lecture, I am going to discuss about Kiran Desai. So basically, Kiran Desai is the daughter of Anita Desai. हमने Anita Desai की बात करी थी in my lecture. तो her daughter name is Kiran Desai, and who was born in New Delhi, and she went to England with her mother, and she finally moved to the United States. Okay, and she got her education in Massachusetts, and there she studied about the creative writing, and then she came into the world of writing novels, and the work, this work Inheritance of Laws was written by her. Okay, and this was published in around 2006, and it also won the 2006 Booker Prize. Please remember this. This novel of Kiran Desai has won 2006 Booker Prize. ठीक है, उसने इतना अच्छा कोर्स करा कि जो भी उसने वर्क लिखा, it has got a Booker Prize in literature. Fine. Now this work Inheritance of Laws is basically it deals with I told you one of Booker Prize, and Biju is the main protagonist of the writer of the work, and you should remember that Biju is the most important writer, and Mutt is also a kind of a dog which appears in the novel. And this novel tells a story about the journey of Biju, who was an you can say that illegal immigrant in the USA. Okay, so he was an illegal immigrant in the USA who is trying to make a new life, okay, in USA, and he has fallen in love with Sai, who was an anglicized Indian girl living with her father in India. Okay, so this was all about the work Inheritance of Law. So you should remember that Biju is the main character in this work, who actually trying to reside in the who was an illegal immigrant in the USA and who is trying to make a new life with a sign. Okay, this was the story Inheritance of Laws all about. Fine, let's move ahead now. Who wrote Ramayana? Okay, please let me know in the chat box who has written the work Ramayana. Yes, students, please answer chat box. Who has written the work Ramayana? Is it Valmiki, Tulsidas, Kalidas, or none of these? Okay, so the correct answer is Valmiki. Okay, so Valmiki has written the work Ramayana. Again, please mug it up. Okay, ये as it is questions आपके आते हैं. Next, in R.K. Narayan, Swami and Friends, which gave offered Swami the best kind of emotional release from the strains and pressures of disagreeable circumstances. ठीक है, आपको बताना है कौन सा वो गेम था. Is it cricket, football, tennis, or hockey? In the chat box, please let me know. Please let me know which is that and which is that game. Okay, so the correct answer to this question is cricket. Okay, so when I just taught you about R.K. Narayan, I have told you that he is a writer who emerged during the initial stage of the Indian literature, and he is notable for writing a lot of works, and his works were not being accepted in the initial stage, and R.K. Narayan was helped by his friend Graham Greene for the to publish his work. Okay, and Graham Greene helped him to publish his first four works, and Swami and Friends was the first work that has been aided by Graham Greene for publication. And Swami and Friends is a part of the trilogy. Okay, so Swami and Friends is the first work. Then the Bachelor of Arts, and then the English Teacher. ठीक है, ये तीन वर्क थे जो R.K. Narayan ने लिखे थे, and Swami and Friends is the first work of this trilogy. Okay, and in this the work which the game that has been depicted is cricket. And please remember that Swami and Friends has been considered as a semi autobiographical work. ये मैंने आपको लास्ट लेक्चर में बताया था कि it is been considered as semi autobiographical work. Okay, it has been considered semi-autobiographical work, and Swami and Friends, I told you, it is the first novel of the trilogy. Okay, and this book contains how many chapters? It contains 19 chapters in total. And who was the main protagonist? Main protagonist Swami, who has a friend or who becomes a close friend to Rajam. Okay, Rajam is another character in the work. And who is Rajam? Rajam is a police superintendent son. Okay, and this particular work ideally depicts the growing pain of an adolescent mind, the tears after getting hurt, and certainly the fear of losing a friend. Okay, so आप कुछ किसी के साथ अगर आप relationship बनाते हो, whether in friendship or anything else, so you become so much close to that person that you start when you just get hurt by that person, you have tears in your eyes, and you also sometimes fear of losing that particular relationship or that person. So similar kind of a dilemma, similar kind of circumstances have been portrayed in the work Swami and Friends. Is this clear? Okay, let's move ahead now. Next question. Niraj C. Chaudhary. So Niraj Chaudhary's Autobiography of an Unknown Indian. Okay, so this Autobiography of an Unknown Indian concludes with an essay on the course of Indian history. But in the penultimate chapter, Chaudhary concludes the account of events in his life. How does this narrative end? Okay, अगर आपने इसके वक्त के बारे में पता होगा, then you must be knowing the answer to this question. Is it 1, 2, 3 or 4? Please let me know in the chat box. What is the correct answer of this particular question? Yes, Avnish, I'm including the theory only. I'm telling you about the works and the writers associated with it. Yes, what is the correct answer of this question? Okay, so the correct answer is Chaudhary obtains a job in the military accounts department and gives it up because he finds it soul destroying. So मैंने आपको लास्ट लेक्चर में भी निराज सी चौधरी के बारे में बताया था that he is devoted his life to study Indian relationship with Britain, and Chaudhary gained critical acclaim and was one of the most successful writer of the Indian origin in English. Okay, and what has a remarkable works? He has written some remarkable works like Suicidal Bengali, Women in Bengali Life, Continents of Circe, okay, and the Three Horsemen in the New Apocalypse, so, and the Autobiographical of an Unknown Indian. Okay, so this is the autobiography. That means it is the story of his own life. So these are some of the works which he has written in his life career as a writer. Okay, and his friend, an editor, historian, and a novelist as well, who is Khushwant Singh, commented on his works to be one of the most kind of a dedication sent up house of protest. Okay, so this was kind of a comment that was given by Khushwant Singh on the works of Niraj C. Chaudhary. Okay, so please remember this works. And please read the work Autobiographical of an Unknown Indian. This is a very important work. Next, which of the following poet describes his mistress as no, she is not Anglo-Indian. She is Indian English, the language that I use. Okay, tell me in the chat box which is that poet. Nazim Ezekiel, K.K. Daruwala, A.K. Ramanujan or Parthasarthi. Please let me know in the chat box. Yes, Avnish, don't worry. I'm trying to close most of the information that I'm including in that video. Yes, which is that poet? Is it A, B, C or D? Okay, so the correct answer is K.K. Daruwala. So K.K. Daruwala has described his mistress as no, she is not Anglo-Indian. She is Indian English, the language that I use. Okay, next. which of the two novels of Anita Desai were shortlisted for the Booker Prize? Okay, so कौन सी दो novels थी जो अनीता देसाई की that has been shortlisted for the Booker Prize? Please let me know in the chat box. We have talked about a lot of notable works of Anita Desai in my previous lecture. Yes, which are these two works? Okay, so the correct answer is In Custody and Fasting and Feasting. So as I told you, Anita Desai is a very notable writer of the Indian literature, and her work Fasting Feasting has been shortlisted for the Booker Prize for Fiction in 1999. ठीक है, कब हुआ था ये? 1999 में उसको बुकर प्राइज फॉर फिक्शन मिला था. एंड दिस नॉवल लाइक हिज फायर ऑन द माउंटेन हैज बीन divided into three parts. This fasting and feasting has been divided into two parts. ठीक है, मैंने आपको आई थिंक प्रीवियस लेक्चर में भी बताया था कि that this novel has been divided into two parts. And the first part of this particular novel is set in India and is focused on the life of Uma, who is overworked daughter of her parents. As I told you, she had the responsibility on her shoulder for her brother's education, Arun. Okay, and finally she is made to leave school and serve her parents. Okay, so she was the sole bread earner of the family, and the story focuses on the life of the unmarried main character. And who was the main character? It was Uma. Okay, who was a spinster and the family's older daughter. Okay, and what was the name of her brother? It was Arun, and he was a kind of a baby of the family, as I told you in previous lecture. जो सबसे छोटे बच्चे होते, the younger children of the family has been treated as babies. Okay, so this Arun was treated as a baby of the family. And Ramu Bhai, who was a traveling born voyager who tried to show Uma good time, he is banished by her parents. Okay, and Meera Malai tells Uma all the tales of Krishna and takes her to the ashram, allowing her to escape the mother domination for a time. So she was so overburdened by the responsibility which was laid on her shoulder that she escaped into a spiritual journey and she went to ashram on the advice of Meera Masi. Okay, so Meera Masi was the person who advised Uma to actually get rid of your mother's burden of responsibility and go to ashram. Okay, and where Arun has to have education. So she was striving to help Arun to have a placement in education from the university in Massachusetts. Okay, so this was all about feasting and fasting. Next is a work this In Custody. Okay, so In Custody, it was also a kind of a it was also shortlisted for the Booker Prize. And in which year it was shortlisted? It was listed in 1984. ठीक है, वो 1999 में हुई थी. In Custody was shortlisted in 1994, and basically it is a tale about a Hindi professor in Mirpur. Okay, and it actually shows the event of his life. So please read the novel In Custody as well. Fine. Okay, next. Which of the following novels acted as an influence on Salman Rushdie's in forging a new narrative style in English? Okay, किस novel ने उसको new narrative style in English दिया था? Which is that novel? Is it Raja Rao's Kantapura? We have discussed about Kantapura. We have discussed about Untouchable, and we have also discussed about Sweet Vendor. Okay, which is that answer? Please let me know in the chat box. Yes, what is the correct answer? Okay, so the correct answer is GV Desani is all about H hatter. Okay, so मैंने बाकी सारे works के बारे में आपसे discuss करा है. I have not discussed about the work all about H hatter, which I'll be discussing in this particular session. Okay, so this H hatter basically stands for the Hindustan wala hatter. ठीक है, तो इसमें H का क्या है मीनिंग? हिंदुस्तान वाला. I think V is there, wala hatter. So Hindustan wala hatter is the full name of G.V. Desani's all about H hatter, and this novel is the comic record of the life of the protagonist, who is basically or you can say constantly threatened, gulled, robbed, bullied in his life. Okay, and basically first of all the main noticeable thing about or the symbolic characteristics of this novel is the name, that is H hatter. Okay, this H is very symbolic. Okay, and it actually records the story of a boy who was adopted by the English Missionary Society, and the name hatter in his name is basically a pinpointing of his hat that is very large for him, which suggests his Anglo-Indian environment, because he was not able to adjust to that environment. The environment was very much huge for him to understand. Okay, because as he was adopted by the English Missionary Society, he was not born in that society. Fine. And the hat may be understood in the terms of his Freudian science as well, and it is also a symbol of masculine and feminine values. Okay, and the hatter surname is prefixed by the term Hindustan wala, that also adds a new sense to it, that yes, though he was adopted by English Missionary Society, but where he was born, the identity cannot be snatched from him. So he is a Hindustan wala and he will remain a Hindustan wala. So this was something, an idea that was put in all about H hatter, and basically the most noticeable part was that because the hat was too big for his head, and which suggests his Anglo-Indian environment. Is this clear about H hatter? Okay, so let's move ahead now. Next is, every demon carries within him, unknown to himself, a tiny seed of self-destruction and goes up in thin air at the most unexpected moment. To which of R.K. Narayan's characters the above statement applies? Okay, कौन सा character था? You have to let me know in the chat box. Okay, tell me in the chat box what is the correct answer. Is it A, B, C or D? Fine. The correct answer is Vasu, man-eater of Malguris. Okay, so मैंने आपको जब R.K. Narayan पढ़ाया था, तो I have talked about the guide, about the sweet vendor, and about the financial expert. But I have not talked about the man-eater of Malguris, and that's novel I'm going to talk about in this particular session. So please remember, the man-eater of Malgudi describes about the good and evil forces of the central character. And who was the central character? Vasu was a central character. Okay, so he was a central character जिसकी evil and good forces आपको इस novel में describe की जाती है. That everybody has not a epitome of goodness or epitome of evilness. Everybody is made up of the mixture of both, that is evil forces and the good forces. And R.K. Narayan bases his story on the ancient Indian myth of boasting demon, that is Brahmasura. Okay, Bhasmasura, sorry. Bhasmasura was a main demon on which the story has been based on. And what was the myth associated with Bhasmasura? That he terrorized the world and dies eventually. Okay, so he said that I want to be immortal, that whatever I touch will turn into ashes. Okay, so this one kind of a vardhan he wanted from Lord Shiva. Okay, and then what happened? Ultimately, he was trapped in his own powers and he was destroyed. So this kind of a myth has been depicted in the work The Man-Eater of Malgudi. So please remember that this work has been known or has been based on the Bhasmasura myth. ये आपका क्वेश्चन है प्रीवियस ईयर्स का भी, ठीक है. इन विच वर्क ऑफ आर.के. नारायण वी हैव अ myth of Bhasmasura. So Bhasmasura myth has been found in the novel Man-Eater of Malgudi. Please remember and please make a note of it, okay. And also you should remember this novel is a kind of allegory because it is based upon a myth and that myth has been depicted in this particular work. And it is also shows the post-colonial side, okay, of Indians. Post-colonial tale भी इसको बोला जाता है. And who were the central character? As I told you, one central character was Vasu and Nataraj. Nataraj was another character in this particular work. Please make a note of it that Nataraj is another character. And who was Nataraj? Nataraj was the owner of a very, you can say, a small friendly printing press in Malgudi, and he is very polite. He's a very polite, kind person with which does not have any enemies. Okay, so he was a very kind of a cordial or jovial man, okay, and his life is very tensionless because he was so happy, so kind, so polite. कोई enemy नहीं है उसका, तो टेंशन किस बात की होगी, okay. So he didn't have any tension in his life. And कब तक उसकी लाइफ में टेंशन नहीं था? जब तक वो वासु से नहीं मिला था, ठीक है. जब तक उसको वासु से नहीं मिला था उसकी लाइफ में कोई टेंशन नहीं था. And at what point he met Vasu? He met Vasu when Vasu arrived at Nataraj printing press, and what he demanded? He demanded 500 visiting cards, okay. This was something, a demand put by Vasu to Nataraj. Please, I want 500 visiting cards, okay. So what happened then? Vasu is Vasu has been depicted as a very demonic kind of a very terrorizing man who used to terrorize the mankind, okay. And he starts living in that printing stairs. So printer stairs, okay. So that was something, a plot of this particular novel. I hope you're finding it interesting. So to know the rest of the plot, please make a reading of this Man-Eater of Malgudi. Okay, is this clear? Okay, let's proceed ahead. Next, which of the following plays is not written by Rabindranath Tagore? ठीक है, मैंने आपको रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर के कुछ वर्क्स, नोटेबल वर्क्स भी बताए थे. सो विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग हैज बीन नॉट रिटन बाय रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर? Yes, what is the correct answer? Okay, so the right answer of this question is Eknath. Okay, so Eknath is not a work by Rabindranath Tagore, and this is a work by Sant Eknath. And who was Sant Eknath? Sant Eknath was a notable writer who is known for translating works from the Sanskrit literature into Marathi. ठीक है, वो संस्कृत लिटरेचर से वर्क ट्रांसलेट करता था इनटू द मराठी लैंग्वेज, एंड ही हैज रिटन द वर्ड एकनाथ. Okay, and that's why it's not a work of Rabindranath Tagore, whereas Sacrifice, Chandalika and Muktadhara are all the works of Rabindranath Tagore. Please make a note of it. Next, which among of the following novels of Anita Desai is a children's book? ठीक है, कौन सी है नॉवेल जो अनीता देसाई की is known as children's book? Please let me know in the chat box. Yes, quickly let me know in the chat box which is that work. Okay, so the correct answer to this question is The Village by the Sea. Okay, so Village by the Sea is a work which is also known as children fiction by Anita Desai. And this particular work, The Village by the Sea, is also known as an Indian family story. Okay, it is has a subtitle, An Indian Family Story. Okay, it has a subtitle, An Indian Family Story, and it is based on the poverty, hardships and sorrow faced by the small rural community in India. ठीक है, तो जो rural communities होती है that are not urban like the town people, ठीक है, so they suffer a lot of poverty और hardships और वो सारी चीजें का realistic description अनिता देसाई ने अपने work The Village by the Sea में दिया है. Okay, and this particular work is set in a small village which is actually called Thul. ठीक है, थुल मैंने बताया था आपको इन द मॉर्निंग लेक्चर कि थुल इज अ प्लेस इन द वेस्टर्न इंडिया एंड विच इज 14 किलोमीटर्स अवे फ्रॉम मुंबई. ठीक है, दिस इज अ प्लेस इन वेस्टर्न इंडिया एंड द मेन प्रोटैगनिस्ट इस वर्क के कौन थे? इट्स लीला. एंड हु वाज लीला? लीला वाज द एल्डेस्ट चाइल्ड who was 13 years old and her brother who was 12 years old, Hari. लीला और हरी की स्टोरी है ये, लीला एंड हरी. ये सब मैं आपको मॉर्निंग लेक्चर में बता चुकी हूँ, सो आई एम जस्ट रिपीटिंग इट. ओके, सो दिस इज अ स्टोरी अबाउट लीला एंड हरी. लीला वाज द एल्डेस्ट चाइल्ड, 13 years old. Hari was her young brother, that is 12 years old. Okay, and Bela and Kamal are younger sister. So how this Hari and Leela have managed the family, as their father was drunkard and their mother was ill. Okay, so although their father was earning money, but he used to spend it to buy alcoholic materials. And how these two kids, Leela and Hari, strive to actually gain some money and to make their both ends meet. So that's why I told you it deals with the poverty, hardship and the sorrow faced by a small rural family of Leela and Hari. Okay, fine, let's move ahead now. और बाकी फायर ऑन द माउंटेन, फास्टिंग फीस्ट इन zigzag way, मैंने इन सब वर्क्स का डिटेल में डिस्कशन करा है इन माय मॉर्निंग लेक्चर ऑफ थ्योरी क्लास. So please go back to that lecture and study about all these works. All these works are very important. Next, the following writers are involved in social activism in addition to the practice of creative writing. Okay, so कौन से ऐसे writers हैं जो writers तो थे प्लस वो सोशल एक्टिविस्ट भी थे? माँ श्वेता देवी, शशि देश पांडे, अरुंधति रॉय और शोभा डे. प्लीज लेट मी नो इन द चैट बॉक्स. Which were those writers? Is it A, B, C or D? Please like the session to mark your attendance. And if you're enjoying the sessions, please leave your comments in the comment section as well. Okay, so the correct answer is first and third. Okay, Mahashweta Devi and Arundhati Roy, they were the writers and they were the social activists as well. Okay, and Arundhati Roy का मैंने सुबह की क्लास में The God of Small Things का main character and उसका setting बताया था, तो please go back to the lecture and listen to it. Fine. And Mahashweta Devi का आप works please write down from your internet, make a list, because ये इतना ज़्यादा question महाश्वेता देवी से इतना आता नहीं है, so just remember only the title of her works. Fine. Next, dash every other stone is god or cousin, there is no crop other than god and god is harvested here around the year. This extract is from which of the following poetry? Jain Mahaprathas Konark, Arun Kolatkar Jejuri, P. Lal's Being Very Simple God, or P. Parthasarthi's Under Another Sky. Please let me know in the chat box. Is it A, B, C or D? What is the correct answer to this question? Okay, so the correct answer is Arun Kolatkar, Jejuri. So Jejuri is a poetry sequence by notable writer Arun Kolatkar, and you should know it has 31 poems. Okay, it is a sequence of 31 poems, and all the poems describes poet. Who is the poet? Arun Kolatkar visit to a city of Jejuri, which is a city near Pune. Okay, so you should remember that it is a work by Arun Kolatkar. And please read about this work in detail, because ज़्यादा से questions नहीं आते हैं. It just tells you about a small anecdotes about his visit in Pune, which to a place called Jejuri, which is a place in Pune. Okay, let's move ahead now. Next, Salman Rushdie's imaginary homeland is, ठीक है, सलमान रुश्दी ने जो imaginary homeland लिखा था, it is what? You have to tell me in the chat box, A, B, C or D. Yes, please let me know. Yes, what is the correct answer? Okay, so the correct answer is an essay that propounds an anti-essentialist view of place. Okay, so ये different word है, anti-essentialist views of place. So please remember this imaginary homeland is a collection of essays by the notable writer Salman Rushdie. Okay, and इसमें जो imaginary homeland में he has given the famous line that is Commonwealth literature does not exist. ये आपके प्रीवियस ईयर्स का क्वेश्चन है. हु हैज गिवन द कॉन्सेप्ट दैट कॉमनवेल्थ लिटरेचर डज नॉट एग्जिस्ट? कहाँ दिया गया है? इट वाज गिवन इन हिज एसेज कलेक्शन दैट इज इमेजिनरी होमलैंड. किसने दिया है? इट वाज गिवन बाय सलमान रश्दी. ये 3 पॉइंट्स आपको मगअप करने हैं, याद करने हैं, बिकॉज एज इट इज क्वेश्चन आपके एग्जाम में आया था. फाइन, लेट्स मूव अहेड नाउ. Okay, so one of the following character which does not belong to a house for Mr Biswas. Okay, so कौन सा character है जो house of Biswas का, Mr Biswas का part नहीं है? Please tell me. What is the correct answer? Please let me know in the chat box. Okay, so the correct answer is Ralph Singh. So Ralph Singh is not a character of the House of Mr. Biswas. So first of all, you should know that House of Mr. Biswas is a work by V.S. Naipaul. ठीक है, वी.एस. नायपॉल ने वर्क लिखा है हाउस ऑफ मिस्टर बिस्वास, एंड आई टोल्ड यू इन द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द इंडियन लिटरेचर दैट वी.एस. नायपॉल एंड भारती मुखर्जी both are the diasporic writers, and Bharti Mukherjee has rejected the label Indian writer from her name, and V.S. Naipaul also have rejected the Indianness from his name, and he preferred to be called as a poet from nowhere and everywhere. ठीक है, so this was about Miss V.S. Naipaul, and this house of Miss Biswas का main theme क्या है? Again, as I told you, he was a diasporic writer, so again identity crisis, identity clash, or the loss of identity is there, cultural shock is there. So that's why in the house of Mr. Biswas, also a kind of a it is a discovery of actually establishing your personal identity. So this was the main theme of the house of Mr. Biswas. So please make a reading of it. Again, a very important work from examination point of view. Yes, very good, Mosmi. Good afternoon. Yes, it is Naipaul. Okay, next. Identify the correctly matched pair. Okay, so आपको जो सही है राइटर और उसके वर्ड का पेयर करेक्ट वाला, वो आपको मुझे बताना है. इज इट ए, बी, सी और डी? Tell me in the chat box, is it A, B, C or D? ये मैंने आपको वर्क्स पढ़ाया है जो उसका करेक्ट आंसर है, राइटर भी पढ़ा रखा है. सो प्लीज लेट मी नो इन द चैट बॉक्स. आज मॉर्निंग में ही पढ़ाया था. Yes, very good. No, sorry, not good. It is D. Okay, Salman Rushdie has written The Enchantment of Florence. Okay, so in the morning only I told you about Salman Rushdie, that Salman Rushdie is basically known for depicting magic realism in his works. Okay, so वो क्या दिखा रहा था अपने works में? Magic realism has been found in his works. Again, I told you in the morning class also, it is the question of net. किसके works में और कौन से work में magic realism has been found? So it is found in the works of सलमान रुश्दी. एंड मैंने किस किस वर्क में था वो भी आपको मॉर्निंग क्लास में बताया था. ठीक है, नाउ लेट्स डिस्कस अबाउट वंस अगेन अबाउट द एन्चेंटमेंट ऑफ फ्लोरेंस. सो बेसिकली द स्टोरी ऑफ एन्चेंटमेंट ऑफ फ्लोरेंस इज रिटन इन 3 parts. आई टोल्ड यू इन द मॉर्निंग इट इज रिटन इन 3 parts. Fire in the Mountain also written in 3 parts. Similarly, Enchantment of Florence also has been written in 3 parts. Okay, and what is the central theme of the Enchantment of Florence is the visit of a यूरोपियन टू अ मुगल एम्परर अकबर कोर्ट. मैंने आपको बताया था एक यूरोपियन था जो अकबर की कोर्ट में आता है, वो द मुगल एम्परर, और वहां पे वो क्या बोलता है? ही क्लेम्स that I am your lost relative. And what was the relation, how the relation has been formed with Akbar? Because he claims that he was a son of the exiled Indian princess and an Italian from Florence. ठीक है, so उसने ये बताया कि मैं Italian princess और exiled Indian princess and an Italian man come from Florence. I am a son of that particular couple, and I am your long lost relative. Okay, so this was a claim made by that European who visited the court of Akbar. And the story of this particular work moves between continents, and actually the court of Akbar has also been depicted, and the Renaissance of Florence has been also been depicted in this work. So in the end, this work is I told you in the morning lecture, it is a fable, it is a fantasy, and it is a history. ठीक है, fable, fantasy, history, तीनों इसके पार्ट हैं. और this is the story is in the form of fable, history and fantasy. Because it is a fantasy है, एक आपको imaginary story है that European visits the Akbar court and you have mixed the 2 ages. This was a kind of fantasy, or you can say has been set in the work. Yes, Mosmi, it is D, very good. Enchantress of Florence. Is it clear? Okay, Salman Rushdie के मैंने सारे वर्क्स से डिस्कस करा था मॉर्निंग क्लास में. प्लीज गो बैक टू द लेक्चर एंड स्टडी अबाउट सलमान रश्दी. Okay, next is which among the following is not a typical Indian English poem by Nazim Ezekiel. ठीक है, कौन सी ऐसी पोएम है जो टिपिकल इंडियन इंग्लिश पोएम नहीं बोली जाती है ऑफ नजीम इज़ेकियल? प्लीज लेट मी नो इन द चैट बॉक्स. Yes, which is that work? A, B, C, or D? Okay, so basically it is how the English lesson ended. It is not a typical Indian English poem by Nazim Ezekiel. तो मैंने आपको जब नजीम इज़िकल के बारे में पढ़ाया था तो I told you he is the father of the post independence and modern Indian poetry, and he is also known as an urban poet. Why? Because he used to depict different dimensions of city life in his works. Okay, so basically जो मुंबई है, मुंबई को हम मिनी इंडिया भी बोलते हैं because here people from all walks of life are found. Okay, similar types of scenario, similar type of picture has been portrayed by Nizam Ezekiel in his works as well. Okay, and I've talked about the Goodbye to Party to Miss Pushpa also, that it actually shows that how some Indians or how some people speak in English in India in a very funny manner. So it is kind of a sarcasm or a satirical remark on that Indians. Fine, let's move ahead. Who among the following writers asserted Commonwealth literature does not exist? ये तो आपको सबको पता होना चाहिए. मैंने आपको बता भी दिया है ये इसका आंसर, and if you are attentive enough, you must be knowing the answer. मुझे आप ऑप्शन नहीं बताओ, वर्क भी बताओ किस वर्क में बोला है कॉमनवेल्थ लिटरेचर डज नॉट एग्जिस्ट. Please let me know in the chat box. In which work it has been said that Commonwealth literature does not exist? Okay, so the correct answer is सलमान रुश्दी. मैंने बताया था सलमान रुश्दी ने लिखा है इमेजिनरी होमलैंड्स. इमेजिनरी होमलैंड्स उसका वर्क है, विच इज अ कलेक्शन ऑफ एसेज एंड क्रिटिसिज्म बाय Salman Rushdie. In that particular work, he has said that Commonwealth literature does not exist. Okay, previous year's question है, बार बार repeat भी होता है. So please keep that concept intact in your brain. Fine. Now let's move ahead. Okay, so in Monica Ali Brick Lane, which among the following characters has a face like a frog? Okay, so आपको बताना है जो मोनिका अली का वर्क है ब्रिक लेन, in which it has a face like a frog. Yes, very good, Mosmi. Chanu. Okay, so Chanu is the right answer, that he has a character in the Brick Lane. So you should remember this. Monica Ali is a Bangladeshi writer. Okay, Bangladeshi writer hai who has written the work Brick Lane. Okay, and this work is a very notable work of Monica Ali. You should remember it and make a reading of it. Okay, and please remember that in this particular work, Chanu is a character who has a face like a frog. Next. Which of the following list pick out a woman character who does not belong to अमिताभ घोष novels? ठीक है, कौन सी ऐसी women character है जो अमिताभ घोष की novels में नहीं पाई जाती है? Is it Ila, Urvashi, Sonali, Piali? Please let me know in the chat box. Yes, which is that work? Yes, very good, Mosmi. It is Urvashi. Urvashi has been not talked about in Amitav Ghosh novel. So in the morning, I have discussed about Amitav Ghosh, and I've told you that his famous work is Ibis trilogy. And कौन सी books आती हैं trilogy में? Please have a look in my lecture. I've told you there are 3 books which comes in this trilogy. Okay, and I told you this trilogy has been narrated in a sequential order. Whatever first book has left in the end, from there only the second book has begun. Okay, so it has a sequential order. Okay, and this Urvashi is not found in the Amitav Ghosh novels. And what kind of themes Amitav Ghosh used to deal in his works? He used to deal with the portrayal of, or you can say parallelism. He used to draw parallelism between the nation identity and the personal आइडेंटिटी. ठीक है, तो आपकी जो पर्सनल आइडेंटिटी है, हाउ इट इज कम्युनियन विद द नेशनल आइडेंटिटी, ही यूज्ड टू डील विद दैट क्लैश, with that kind of a parallelism he used to draw between these two identities in his work. Fine, is this clear? Next, okay, so this work Girish Karnad's Hayavadhan originally in Kannada has been translated into English. तो मैंने लास्ट पर एक क्वेश्चन दिया था आपको, प्रैक्टिस करवाया था मॉक टेस्ट में कि which Girish Karnad used to write his play in which language. Okay, so the correct answer was Kannada. ठीक है, Kannada was the right answer to this question, that he used to deal or write his plays in Kannada language. Now this Hey Vatan is also a play by Girish Karnad. ठीक है, so उसका जो translated in English है वो किसने किया है? As I told you, Indian literature was basically the writings in the earlier stage was a translation from the native language of the writers into English. Okay, so this Girish Karnad is a Kannada writer who has written Hayavadhan also in his native language, and it was translated into English by which of the writer? You have to tell me in the comment section of the video. I will be taking the name of the person who has given the right answer, and I will be explaining the right answer also in my next mock test series lecture. ठीक है, and please make a note of it. Please write the correct answer in the comment section, because this will be also only helpful for you. Fine, I hope you enjoyed the session for today and you have got the concepts right, because I try to take out the maximum questions of the previous years based on the English Indian literature, and I have tried to touch upon all of the writers that are important from the examination point of view. So please make a note of it. Please keep the work intact with the concept, with the characters, and with the settings. Okay, so in the next my theory lecture on Monday, I am coming with different topic of the syllabus of UGC NET. So please stay tuned for the Monday's lecture as well, and please make your notes. Like the session if you enjoyed the session. Comment the views which you think about this particular session in the comment section, and please subscribe to the channel for more such updates. Okay, take care students, and goodbye.